Hi, it's your boy Ron Big Black Garrett. I just wanted to come to you today and reflect on an earlier video that I put on Instagram dealing with fear. Fear is one of those universal truths that all of us go through at one time or another. And at times, I think most of us, if we're honest, will say that we've been at times overwhelmed by fear. Fear is one of those things that people don't really like to talk about. And when they do, they talk about it with fear. But you don't have to bow down and scrape and all these other things to fear. The best thing that you can do is confront your fear. Even if nothing happens, just simply confronting the fear takes away the majority of the power that it has. I've dealt with a lot of fearful things in my life. I grew up in a pretty rough circumstance at times, domestic violence, a whole bunch of things. My whole childhood at times was littered with fear. And back then, I often couldn't see any way out. You know, when you see your mother getting beaten and you can't do anything about it because you're too small to do anything about it. It's one of the reasons I became such a big guy, is because I never wanted to feel that powerless again. But to see those things and live in constant fear every time things will start slamming or breaking, that constant fear could have did one or two things to me. It could have made me ball up into a little circle and just lie in a corner and never come out of that corner. Some people, that happens to them. It's a PTSD thing. PTSD is not just in the military. I was actually diagnosed with PTSD from things from my childhood by one of my doctors in the military. They thought that I had been through war. And at that time, you know, we weren't even having a war, you know. So make sure that you understand, though, that there are ways to overcome those things. Number one, speak about it. Talk to someone about it. Talk to someone that you trust about it. If you're a Christian, the first and foremost thing that you need to do is lay it down at the cross at Jesus' feet. For you non-Christians, talk to someone about it. I always try to cover both of these bases because I realize not everyone shares my faith, and I'm okay with that to an extent. But I never want to force anyone to eat food that they're not wanting to eat. And it's okay with me because I realize that. But the way we deal with fear in both cases can help you because you're confronting it. So get out there today and confront that fear. You know, ask yourself, you know, what things am I fearful of? For a lot of us that are on a ketogenic journey, we're fearful of going back to our old way of life. Well, confront that thing, you know. Do things that are necessary. Take steps to ensure that you don't go back down that road. Start having what I've talked about in the other day's video episode. A positive mental attitude will help you a long way in defeating fear. Do the things that you know you're supposed to be doing. If you're a Christian, pray. If you're not a Christian, meditate. Whatever it takes to get where you need to get, take those steps. It's so sad for me sometimes to see so many people lying around just fearful of everything. I remarked earlier that people are so afraid and fearful these days. They're fearful of what's happening to our country, what's happening around the world, what's happening if they fall off their ketogenic diet, what's happening if they fall off their regular diet, whatever. You know, fear has no place in your heart. You weren't created to be fearful. You weren't designed to be fearful. You aren't a human being that's supposed to be fearful. There's a place for fear. There's a big difference between fear and being fearful. Fearful is a state of mind that you're always fearful. Everything coming around the corner, you're scared of. Having a little fear heightens the senses. It makes one more aware. It starts the adrenaline pumping. You know, that's a state right there that's a temporary state. But so many people cross over into that permanent state, and then they stay there, they reside there. They make faulty decisions because they're fearful all the time. They're scared to step out of a comfort zone. And you can't grow that way, you know? If I had went into the gym And the first time I hurt myself lifting weights, if I had never gotten over that fear and went back in there and challenged myself and said, you know what, I'm going to do this thing, I'd never got to bench pressing, over 550 something pounds. You know, I never would have squatted over 700 pounds. I never would have done those things. I never would have been able to be the athlete that I was and the soldier that I was in the Army. The first time that that I had something negative happen to me, I'm trying to be a little careful here, in the Army. The first time something negative happened to me in the Army, had I not confronted that and not challenged myself to overcome that, and then I wouldn't be the man that I am today. Now, I'm not telling you that's easy. Nothing that I ever say on this YouTube channel or on my Instagram or on my Facebook, I never sit up here. I'm not one of these people, even you Christian folks that I'm talking to. I have never sit up here and said that things are going to be easy. All I ever tell you that it's worth it. It's worth it to challenge yourself. It's worth it to overcome things by, if you're not a Christian, your strength. If you are a Christian, God's strength. And that's the amazing thing about us, man. We're so resilient. If we just give ourselves a chance, if you learn to look into the mirror, just like I'm looking at you right now, if you learn to look at yourself in the mirror and say, you know what, I'm worth it. I say this almost every Tuesday night in my inner city ministry. I make my boys say that God loves me. Now, I don't make them say it, but you know what I mean. I say, hey, you need to look in the mirror, because we're all Christians, so it's okay for us to say that. But if you weren't a Christian, if let's just say I was in some community center thing, I'd say, hey, look in the mirror and say you love yourself. Look in the mirror and say, I'm not going to be afraid. You have got to learn to speak positive words over your life, even when dealing with fear. Dealing with fear of failure on the area that I really love, and that's the ketogenic diet. I get people that fail all the times, and I tell them, okay, that failure is going to be your next nail that help build your house of success. But you have to let go of that fear of failure and continue to push past it. 95, 96% do. And man, you should see what happens when they do. That other 4 or 5%, most of them do, but some of them, they never get past that. And then, I just try to work with them as best I can, because that's a hard thing to do. Sometimes we just get paralyzed in our fear, and it's one of those things that's just so hard to come away from, but you can do it. Never allow yourself to be dominated by fear. If you're in an abusive relationship, man, I know that better than almost anyone. Just make sure that yourself, and I have to really I didn't even really want to go down that road on that, but it's me showing you how I overcame my fear, because I feared that I was going to be an abusive person, because I knew so many people had grown up in that situation. But I just kept telling myself every day, I'm not going to be that way. I'm not going to be that way. And when those thoughts would come into my head, and this is way before I became a Christian, so this is why I talk to you non-Christians and let you know the same principle apply. To me, it's more effective and powerful with Jesus in my heart, but to each his own, So I just try to give tools out. You decide how you want to use them. So my encouragement to you today is to realize that all of us suffer from fear. All of us are in fearful situations. All of us have had times when we were just deathly afraid of things, but it's okay. It's part of this whole journey that we call life. And you will prosper if you put your mind to it. You will prosper if you're a Christian, if you allow God to come into those situations. If you speak life, no matter whether you're a Christian or a non-Christian, speak life. Don't speak words of death over your life. Us Christians, we understand that philosophy, but even people that are in the secular world, like Kai Green, he says thoughts become things. Thoughts become things. And that's true. As you think in your mind, quite often, it gets manifested out in the physical. And that's a principle that's almost in almost every religion. It's almost metaphysical at times. So I encourage you to make sure that you train your thought life, and you're going to always hear me talking about your thought life, whether it's one of my Christian based videos, or if it's a weightlifting video. Man, there's times when I'm in the gym and before I even get there, I'm defeated. That doesn't happen to me as much now that I'm older and I'm wiser, because the day before I'll even start talking to myself about how good my workout's going to be. That's the same principle that you use to defeat fear. When it comes up, you shoot it down right then. Don't wait. Don't think it's too quick to say anything. That's how you get defeated. If you're a Christian, you understand that that's the enemy speaking to you, or your flesh speaking to you. If you're non-Christian, that's yourself talking to you, or whatever your belief is that's talking to you. So that's my word today. I had to expound on that a little bit more. I really didn't want to, because I felt like the little short video addressed a lot of it, but I had to address it even further because I felt like I had a few more things to say. So, hey, I love you, man, woman, child, whoever's listening to this. I'm so grateful. People ask why I do these things, because I don't get a lot of views right now. But every person that I've talked to that do these things say that, just hang in there. And I don't get frustrated like a lot of people do, because if one watches this and changes, or it helps them, and I know it has, that's worth it to me. And I'm not one of these people that do these things for the money. I don't need that. I don't need the fame. I don't need all those things. If I wanted to do that, I would have stuck with football. I would have stuck with some of these other things. I could be a 51-year-old power lifter now trying to break records because I'm so strong on keto. Or I could just go into modeling because, I am pretty, but all joking aside, I do this because I love you. I do this because you are worth it to me. I do this because I see my family changing. I do this because I see the nutrition world and the health world starting to change. And I do this because I've learned to put aside fear. And that's what the topic is today. And you can too. I'm smiling right now because there are some of you now who are listening to me, who are going to right now, when you get off of this episode, and go and look yourself in the mirror and say, you know what? I'm not going to fear success anymore. I'm not going to fear progress anymore. And I'm so happy for you, because it's just an awesome thing to know that you're going to change, that your lives are going to be changed because you decided to take control and overtake that fear. And I know how I feel now dealing with that. And I'm so excited to know where you're going to be at. So it's about time for me to quit this thing, because, brother struggling a little bit right now. So, hey, I love you. God bless you. Take care of yourselves. Get out there. Don't fear change. Don't fear anything. Be productive in all that you do today. I speak peace into your life today. I speak love into your life today. Know that I'm thinking of you. As God brings you across my mind, I'm going to pray for you. And know that you are worth everything that your heart desires. I love you. God bless you. Peace.